Hey, okay, well, I saw Five Nights at Freddy's last Wednesday actually, so I thought I would do a review of it. It would be remiss of me, though, not to discuss the game here as well, so I will be doing that to an extent. So, first off, the director is Emma Tammy. The only other work I know of hers being The Wind, which is set in the 1800s, I think, which wouldn't really be my bag, so I haven't seen it. And she's done a few other things as well. This film itself, for me, was always going to be an interesting one. I thought that the first game, certainly the only one I've played, was a mediocre experience, frankly, relying solely on jump scares to make its point. I don't know if any of the other games in the series deviated from this or tried to do anything different, but if they didn't, I don't really understand their longevity purely as a gaming franchise. What does interest me, though, is the lore. Now, I don't know whether it's because I'm autistic, but I am an absolute fiend for lore of all kinds, even surrounding IPs that I don't really care about. Give me a 2-hour video of background information, I'm more than happy, probably why I enjoy channels such as Nexpo, for example. The lore for Five Nights at Freddy's is very deep, especially given how sparse the source material is at face value. Or maybe because the material seems so simple that people's imaginations have been fired, I don't know. Probably a bit of both. The game at its heart is a story recounting a family tragedy. A guy owns a company which uses animatronic mascots as a gimmick. His son is fatally injured by one of them, and he searches for reasons why the spirit of his dead son is stuck inside the machine that killed him. Or at least that's my understanding of the basic story. His behavior becomes more and more extreme, and more deaths follow. To say more than that would be giving away too much of the lore, I think, and if it is something you're interested in, it is worth discovering for yourself. The film, then, was able to take advantage of an incredibly rich tapestry of lore, and, being written by the guy who wrote the games, Scott Cawthon, the core of the story is retained to an extent. We have our central character, Mike, played by Josh Hutcherson, who has suffered a family tragedy of his own, and who has fallen on hard times. His rage has kept him from finding sustained employment, which is important, given that he's also looking after his much younger sister, played by Piper Rubio, who we come to learn seems to have some sort of gift. Adding to the stress, his aunt is vying for custody of the sister, so he's trying to keep her and her lawyer at bay as well. In desperation, then, he takes a job as a security guard at the Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria restaurant, a business that has long closed down. Here, he meets a police officer, Vanessa, who seems to know more than she's letting on about both why the restaurant closed and also about various child disappearances that have taken place over the years. So, as in the game, then, our stage is set. We have Mike watching the monitors and spooky happenings taking place at the abandoned pizzeria. Another important point to note about Mike is that he's trying to use dream theory to find out who's responsible for the tragedy in his background, and he continues this while working at the pizzeria. And what could possibly go wrong with that, right? Basically, the truth about the animatronics is revealed, a deal is made, innocents are endangered, and a serial killer, who we discover is responsible for much of what has happened, is revealed and dealt with in a way that suggests a sequel could be on the cards. I have heard that this film is the first part of a planned trilogy, and, while the ending is open-ended enough to allow for that, I don't see where the story could be taken from here, at least not easily. Maybe they could cover the backs more of the backstory or introduce some of the characters that are in the lore but not in the film. Yeah, so this is the basic story of the film without giving too much away. However, there are certain differences between the film and the lore that may cause fans of the game to get upset, shall we say. For me, though, particularly given that the writer of the games was involved in the writing of the film, this is probably deliberate, both to protect the original IP to a certain extent and to give this film an identity of its own, as much as that is possible. The biggest difference that comes to mind is that there is no Bite of 87 in the film, if you know, you know, which is a pivotal event in the game series, and without going into details, some of the relationships do appear to be different. For me, though, this doesn't ruin the film. It's based on the games. It doesn't have to follow them exactly. Now, while this isn't a terrible film by any means, there are, of course, flaws. For example, the animatronics don't feature in the movie as much as one would expect, diminishing the threat that they pose. Also, the casting kind of gives away the twist of the film, if you can call it that. Given who one of the actors is and the role he plays in the early part of the film, it doesn't really take much to guess that he's going to have a much bigger impact on the story than he appears to. The lack of a Bite of 87 means that the reason for closing down the business in the first place is more ambiguous than it is in the games. It's a choice based on suspicion and loss of business, rather than an imperative resulting from a specific event, as far as I can tell. While, as I say, I think this may have been done to protect the games in a way, there will be people who cry foul over it, and I think that's fair enough. It is a crucial difference, even though it makes the story more believable in many ways. Also, speaking of believability, is it believable that Vanessa would have stayed silent about what she knew for so many years? Possibly, given who the killer turns out to be, but it could go either way, I think. I think also that the story feels rushed, especially towards the end. There's no real final battle with the villain to speak of, and the resolution seems a little easy, really, at least to me. But then, why not, given the premise of the story? Having said all of this, though, there is one huge element of the film that the filmmakers got absolutely right. The look and feel of the animatronics themselves. Designed by Jim Henson's Creature Shop, they look close enough to their in-game counterparts that not only are they immediately identifiable, but they make you think of how the characters in the games behaved, elements that are not necessarily synonymous. Had the animatronics been CGI rather than practical, for example, I don't think the film would have the same impact, and it may have sunken beneath the weight of its flaws. Another thing that was done well, in my opinion, was the music. It's creepy, but not so creepy that it would change the overall feel of the piece. This is a film that is meant to be scary, but in a fun way, that both adults and children can get something out of, particularly at Halloween. So, in conclusion then, this film is worth a watch, in my opinion. It's scary and fun, with enough story to see it through to its end. Fans of the game and the lore will probably get more out of it than casual filmgoers, and if the film was released at any point in the year other than Halloween, I think it would be a harder sell to the general movie-going audience. It's basically a Scooby-Doo story with real ghosts, so to speak. Whether there is going to be a sequel, let alone a trilogy, remains to be seen. But there is potential here, particularly given one of the lines that the villain has near the end. However, as always, and with all the above being said, this has been my review of Five Nights at Freddy's. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to speak to you soon. I should mention that I now have a gaming channel, Newbie Do Gaming, where I put my gaming content, trying to get the algorithm to take notice of it, basically. I don't have much on there at the moment, but that will hopefully be rectified in the coming weeks as I have some plans for various games, etc. So please subscribe. I will leave the details pinned in the comments section. With that being said, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel too if you think I've earned it. And thank you very much for watching as always, and bye for now.